Good morning, race fans. It's Memorial Day, and I think I'm going to be a little subdued today because I've been a Kyle Busch fan for a long time. Maybe not like Rowdy Nation where I'm cheering for him to, but I don't know. It's like it's he's on the Mount Rushmore of all-time great NASCAR drivers, and I just feel this massive loss, and I think we're all feeling it. It's sort of like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or John Elway or Tom Brady all of a sudden passing suddenly mid-season and leaving everybody just sort of at a loss for what to say, what to do, how to think, because it's just like one of the foundational pillars of the sport of NASCAR was Kyle Busch. And I know that sounds strange because he's current era, he's modern, but for 20 years we've been watching Kyle Busch for over 20 years, really since he was 16. So we're talking 25 years we've been watching Kyle Busch. And as I said, he's a foundational pillar to NASCAR. I've said many times on this channel, Kyle Busch doing well in NASCAR is good for the sport in general. And so this loss to me is huge. I've been, as I said, I'm not Rowdy Nation. I'm not one of those, but I've been a Kyle Busch fan because how can you not cheer on somebody who's so good? It's like, how can you not cheer on Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Tiger Woods or Tom Brady or any of these people whose skill set and perspective and life are so entwined with the sport that it's hard to separate the two. It's hard to, yeah, I know people were frequently critical of how Kyle Busch came off in the media, but I think that was just a little bit of his acerbic personality. And because when you see the photos of him being candid, being with his kids, being with a young guy goofing around, being with friends, or there's a video that's been going viral of the woman who pulls up in the car next to Kyle Busch, and she's wearing the Kyle Busch M&M's hat, and she's freaking out, and he grabs the hat and he signs it for her right there, and just the giant smile on his face was that thing that I think, because we frequently see him in the context of media or post race where he just lost, and he was the guy who wanted to win every single race. He is the winningest driver in NASCAR history. He has more wins than Richard Petty. Now, are they all cup wins? No. And I think if you go back in the day, you'll see a lot of Richard Petty's wins were what we would have called the Grand National Series, not the full Cup Series yet. So I do look back at Richard Petty's wins as a mixture of the top series and the second series, but they didn't make that differentiation as much back then. So I'm putting Kyle Busch as probably the greatest driver in NASCAR history. Like he's right up there with Richard Petty as far as importance and just number of wins, and just he's the winningest driver in NASCAR history. Now, as a Michigan fan, winningest is sort of a thing that we talk about because Michigan has the most wins in college football history, and so that's something that it's something that we look at as Michigan fans. But this weekend has been tough. But I think the fact that all three races ended short is frankly indicative of how Kyle Busch, because his life was cut short. All three of these races were cut short. And I don't know. I feel like that's just very symbolic of what the whole NASCAR community is feeling right now, is that one of the greats was cut short. Very similar to Dale Earnhardt. I've been a diehard Dale Earnhardt fan since I was a little kid. And it's tough. I mean, but I love a lot of drivers. I love Jeff Gordon. Rusty Wallace, Darrell Waltrip, Michael Waltrip, Dale Jr. I can go through a list of all these drivers that I've really enjoyed watching drive. Even the stuff that I wasn't really old enough to really understand yet. And now I've watched and go back on NASCAR Classic and watch, Cale Yarborough, the Allison, the Bodines. I just remember all, in the 90s, the Bodines and everything. So, it's just this has been a tough weekend for NASCAR. We lost, as I said, one of the giants, one of the foundational pillars of our sport. We lost our Michael Jordan. We lost our Kobe Bryant, the Shaquille O'Neal, the LeBron James. It's think of if the Lakers went out and mid-season, LeBron James got sick and died mid-season. And I feel like that's kind of how NASCAR is right now, because it's yeah, maybe Kyle Busch wasn't your guy, but you respected him. You wanted him to see him do well because you knew he was such a good driver that, you wanted your favorite driver to be Kyle Busch at his best because he's Kyle freaking Busch. And I've always referred to Kyle freaking Busch, not as some pejorative, but more of a he's Kyle freaking Busch. And I don't know if that distinction's coming through. It's lauding him. It's not a denigration. It's a laud for me. I mean, that is me saying wow, he's Kyle freaking Busch. He is that guy. He's Tiger freaking Woods. He's that guy. You understand what I'm saying? So, I've been going along on this. It's been almost 7 minutes already, and I didn't know how to put this to words before today because I'm thinking about Memorial Day and everything we went through over the past 5, 6, 7 days, and I really didn't think about it until this morning, and I'm watching the Teardown with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi, and I'm watching a couple other videos. I watched Eric Estep's kind of review, but the thing that struck me was the fact that all 3 races were stopped short of their end goal, of their end distance. And I feel that is very symbolic of what we all feel happened to Kyle Busch, that his life was cut short before he made that final distance, before he got to do the thing, which I think was probably his most burning desire, which was to be in the Truck Series as his son Brexton was in the Truck Series. And it could have been the best father-son moment ever. And unfortunately, we've lost that opportunity, and I hope Brexton understands, I hope Samantha understands, Lennix, that while you really only have one real uncle, you just gained several thousand, tens of thousands of uncles and aunts through the NASCAR community that basically will bend over backwards to make sure that the Busch family, the Busch kids, are taken care of. And that's what I saw. I saw the entire NASCAR community standing with the Busch family and saying, we support you, we're here for you, whatever you need. And then I want to talk about Richard Childress for a second too, because I don't know if there is a single human who could have handled this any better than Richard Childress, because he has now had to go through this twice. Once with Dale Earnhardt dying because of an on-track incident, and then now with Kyle Busch dying because of what looks to be walking pneumonia that was not diagnosed and got to the point of sepsis. And I don't know if anybody but Richard Childress could have handled this as well. And this is going to sound really odd coming from me, but I feel like Richard Childress was the only person, and this was the challenge given to him by the universe, by God, whoever you want to call out. But I think the only human who could have handled this situation, it would probably be Richard Childress, and then the second one would have been Joe Gibbs. And I'm so thankful for Steve O'Donnell, for Richard Childress, Kurt Busch, Samantha, Brexton, all of them, the whole Busch family coming out, because they could have easily said, you know what, this is a private moment, we're going to stay home. Because I do think that them coming out and being with the greater NASCAR family was necessary, was needed. Because it's not just, yes, Samantha and Brexton and Lennix and the Busch family are devastated right now, but the hundreds of thousands of Busch fans, the hundreds of thousands of NASCAR fans, the millions of NASCAR fans, we're all feeling this too, because it's not limited to just, oh, we're related. It's like, no, this is one big family, one big community, and we just lost, as I said before, the Michael Jordan, the Larry Bird, whoever you want to throw in there, the LeBron James of the sport, the guy. His loss. I mean, we're still talking about Dale Earnhardt 25 years after his death. I think we're all going to be talking about Kyle Busch 25 years after his death. And I feel like, and I've said this, I'm repeating myself. I know I'm repeating myself, but the fact that all three races were cut short this weekend, I think is a very, symbolic of what happened with Kyle Busch. But all right, I've been talking too long. Let's get into it, because I do want to touch on a little bit of what is going on right now. So yes, Daniel Suarez. Now, I was cheering for Daniel Suarez because the Toyotas were dominating. At one point, you had all four Joe Gibbs Toyotas, 1, 2, 3, 4, with Reddick as number 5, and then another point you had Reddick as number 1, and then the JGR Toyotas behind him. But this was pretty much the JGR show. We had some flashes of Zane Smith leading, which I thought that was super cool. Good to see a Ford doing well. And then we also had SVG leading for a little bit, and I thought that was huge. But Daniel Suarez in the 7, maybe it's poetic, maybe the universe delivered. I don't know what you believe. I kind of believe that this was the way this race was supposed to end. Because, how Daniel Suarez has been talking about how Kyle Busch helped him as he came into the series, their conversations, but just everybody this weekend talking about how much Kyle Busch Motorsports, his impact on not just their personal life, but the entire NASCAR sport, all 3 levels. And I thought Daniel was the perfect avatar for this in a weird way. And bold decision by his crew chief to take 2 tires, to get out front, knowing rain was coming. So if you could be out front, you had a shot to win this. They took 2 tires. They moved up 13 spots on pit lane, got the lead. And the thing was, yeah, he could have just gotten the lead there and then lost it immediately, but he defended it on 2 restarts, did a phenomenal job, got a great push by Kyle Larson, and frankly, I just thought he really was a deserving race winner. And yes, I wish we gotten the full 600 laps, but we're roughly 5% short of the complete, a little over 30 laps, so just barely over 5%. And overall, I thought this was a really, really solid race. It had a wet blanket thrown over it because of all the emotions of the weekend. But overall, I thought the racing was really good. I think the rain impacted how I'm scoring it, unfortunately. I think the fact that it didn't get to the finish is going to impact how I've scored it a little bit. because I do have it. I'll just need to get it open. Because it's a race that it had flashes of really good racing with the Gibbs cars trading blows up front. When you had, Zane Smith leading, when you had SVG running top 10 all race long. Basically, he was averaging like about a 7th place running most of the day. Got out front, was leading, was getting on the restarts, got good launches. I wish I was better at inserting little clips because I want to insert the clip of Happy Gilmore. It's like, oh, somebody learned how to play. So I think that would be very apt here in that SVG is figuring out these ovals. And once he figures out these ovals and once he can qualify better, because I think that was one of the keys here was he was able to run up front and get the cleaner air and work up there. And it's like, oh, it's so much easier if you're in the front, So I think that's kind of one of the things. And I know I'm all over the place. Christopher Bell, I feel bad for him. He had a really great day, a strong car. He and Denny Hamlin were battling it out right at the end. I think Denny got into his door. It didn't look intentional. I think it was just sort of circumstantial. And it allowed Daniel Suarez to stick out front. And then, as I've seen a couple of people say, if NASCAR waited about 3 or 4 seconds, Hamlin would have been in front. So depending on when they throw that caution, Suarez was about to get past because Denny Hamlin had the best car all night. Obviously, he was the horse to beat, if you want to, And Tyler Reddick looked really good, but he didn't look as fast as Denny. He got out front. Denny ran him down. Looked like Tyler Reddick had the better short run speed, while Denny Hamlin had the better long run speed. Same thing. Kyle Larson, I thought, looked really good. Just what didn't have quite that final gear, however you want to say it, to get over the line and get that win. Ty Gibbs, I thought, looked great all night long, and if they'd run it out to the full length, I think we probably would have seen Denny Hamlin and probably Kyle Larson and Ty Gibbs. Let's throw Bell in there too. Let's put those 4 in, battling it out for the win because they just look so strong. Just look so strong. Yeah. You might be able to throw Tyler Reddick in there too. It was just, it's tough. Like the Toyotas look so strong. Kyle Larson, I think, would have been that 5th car because they're almost there. They're almost figuring it out. Ryan Blaney looked strong most of the night, but it wasn't really big part of the storyline. So he was just sort of running well. Joey Logano bounced back from some horrible finishes. I think that's good. William Byron had a much better showing, had some adversity, fought back through it, got a 9th place finish. Zane Smith, I think, is probably the outside of Daniel Suarez is the feel-good story of the race. I'm going to put Zane Smith as the other feel-good story of the race because it's like, wow, got a Ford running up front that isn't a Penske Ford. And it's one of the smaller teams. And yeah, I thought he did great. And then SVG, as I've mentioned before, it just phenomenal day for him and his team. I think an 11th place finish it's not indicative of how well he was running. I think I heard someone say earlier that he was averaging a little bit over a seventh place most of the day. And if you go back and watch it, you'll see him bouncing between 6th and 7th most of the race. Just really phenomenal start. Had a great oval race day. And then a few more. Ricky had a good day. He did wipe out Chastain. Don't think that was necessarily intentional, but you could make the argument it was. It's frankly very similar to what Ricky Stenhouse got very angry with Carson Hocevar last year for doing, which was basically when Ricky Stenhouse came down in front of Carson Hocevar was like, I'm not slowing down for you, and he wiped him out. Ricky Stenhouse basically did the exact same thing to Chastain, and I just wanted to point out that little bit of irony there. Eric Jones ran well. Michael McDowell ran well. Brad Keselowski had an up and down day. But I really want to jump down because a lot of these guys, solid days, nothing really exciting. Bubba Wallace, unfortunate incident early. But let's talk about Carson because Carson didn't really have any, it looked like he had maybe an on-field or on-track incident with Chastain where they got a little snipey with each other. Nothing really happened from it. But I think the big story for Hocevar was unscheduled pit stop with a flat tire, multiple errors on pit road, even had the rear tire, not the tire chain, not the wheel guy, the lug guy, basically say, hey, stop, the lug is not on. They had to come back, rejack the car, finish tightening the rear wheel, and then you could continue to stop. But it was just, he had multiple bad stops. They need to do some pit stop practice because it was just, the pit crew was what was causing Carson to have so much adversity. And I feel like, again, his car was probably faster than running 23rd, though he was having issues most of the day, it looked like. So tough to call there. But overall, just not the race. It was a good race, just cut short. And it's just one of those, I wish we could have gotten those final 30 laps because I think the finish would have really just built it up instead of having this sort of rain delay and, rain cautions, lightning cautions, oh, never mind. And that to me impacted my scoring a little bit. So, but let's jump over to O'Reilly's. I'm going to have to go back and watch this one again. Ross Chastain got the win there. But it was cut short. I feel like Jesse Love probably got screwed. But yeah, it's just pretty good running for RCR here. I always like it when William Sawalich has a good day, and then Corey Day is in my opinion, he is this year's Connor Zilisch. And you can see here he finished 5th, and Connor finished 6th. And then Cole Custer finishing 8th. I like Cole Custer. I think he's a good dude. Carson Kvapil 9th, Rajah Caruth 10th. I think this is also very good for Rajah Caruth, and it's like he needed some points. He also needed to, after trying too hard last week, I think this was a good, hey, just get a base hit. Like Dale Jr. was saying on the download, that Rajah keeps trying to hit home runs effectively, and he needs to stop worrying about the home runs and start getting base hits and doubles, because then the home runs will come. And it's basically one of those, stop trying so hard because you're trying so hard that you're impacting your performance. So it's one of those, if you just dial it back a little bit, stop going 105%, try going 100%, and it'll work better. So I'm a big Sammy Smith fan. I like how he drives. Same thing with Parker Retzlaff. I'm glad they did well. Anthony Alfredo, good, seems like a good dude. And then overall, yeah. And then the trucks. I thought the trucks race was actually pretty good. I wish it wasn't stopped, 5 laps short of the end. But Lane Riggs was definitely legit the winner of that race. So Honeycutt, I'm a fan of. Connor Zilisch was looking good. Yeah, overall, yeah, Ricky Stenhouse in 9th, Sawalich in 10th, Corey LaJoie 12th. I think that might be the best finish for LaJoie in the last couple races. And then SVG 15th. Overall, and then Travis Pastrana 21st. Overall, I thought the truck race was actually really good. It just got annoying with all the the rain cautions and things like that, and then having a time limit. And I just wish with a couple of those later cautions that happened, they just kept running down laps. And if they didn't have those kind of lame cautions, I think they could have finished out the laps. So, but let's get into shoot this. All right. So I scored Charlotte a 75, and you know what? I'm gonna move enjoyment up to 8. We'll change that on the fly. Give it a 76. Racing quality. This was directly impacted by the rain, and so I would have given this an 8 as well because of that. You know what? I'm gonna put strategy up to 8, so we'll give it a 77 because I do think one of the deciding factors was Daniel Suarez and his crew chief taking 2 tires instead of 4, and then just being able to nail the restarts, getting Kyle Larson to give him a good push. And yeah, that was a strategic call, and they did it. So I think that's fair. 7.5 for tire, because tires were a factor. How the right front was wearing. A couple guys had some left right rear wear too, and then like Hocevar had a puncture randomly. It was not even that like his tires weren't even run that long. So that was a weird one. And then yeah, passing was actually 7.55. It was decent but not great. So I think 77 is a fair score for that. Yeah, shoot. I did it on the wrong one. That's O'Reilly. That's my O'Reilly. This is the one. All right. So yeah, I got 8 for enjoyment, and I think we should put 8 for strategy. So that puts us at 77. We'll put O'Reilly at 75, and we put Trucks at 76. I thought they were above average races. I think the rain and just all the rain related cautions and that kind of thing kind of impacted the racing quality for me. But I'm a huge fan of Charlotte. I think it's a great track. I like the mix of sort of flat oval elements through the dog legs and then the high bank going around the rest of the track. I think it's a really well designed track. I like that it's bumpy and it kind of it's wide enough that you have multiple grooves, and I don't know, it's always a good race. I think last year's Coke 600 was phenomenal. It's like it's up there with Atlanta for me as like how much I like the track. So I can't wait for the second race of the year. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm scoring it. Above average, really, a good race, but not a great race. It doesn't get up to Daytona or Atlanta yet, or even Phoenix, but or Darlington. But maybe I like Darlington way too much. I just love that track. But it was solid, and I think if it weren't for the rain, and probably if it weren't for the somber and just heaviness of this weekend, we probably would have scored it higher. I probably would have scored it higher. They cut it short. And as I said, I think that is real good symbolism of how we all feel like what happened with Kyle Busch. And so on this Memorial Day, I want you to, call your loved ones, call your family, give your kids a hug, give your dog a hug, scratch your cat. I don't know what you do with cats. I'm allergic. But it's one of those things where just appreciate the good things in life and what you have. And as Kyle Busch said after the Dover truck race, which was a perfect win. I don't know if anybody's mentioned that. It was a perfect win. He got the pole, got the fastest lap. He won both stages and the race. That is a perfect win. He won every point possible if he was able to score points. But he scored a perfect race at Dover. And I think that is absolutely poetic that he won his final race in the 7 truck, a KBM truck, now with the Spire Motorsports. And it was a perfect race. Every point, pole, fastest lap, both stages, and the win. Kyle Busch, you'll be missed. You're loved, you're remembered, and you're an absolute pillar of the NASCAR community. You are guaranteed Mount Rushmore, in my opinion. And I kind of feel like we need to build a Mount Rushmore of NASCAR drivers at this point. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a safe and wonderful holiday today, and a good Memorial Day, because this has been a tough weekend for us all. And as I said, please give your loved ones a hug, and please comment below. Let me know what you think. I hope I've struck the right tone for this video. As you might have noticed, I'm probably on the spectrum. Don't really react correctly to a lot of emotional things. So just wanted to put my 2 cents out there, and I hope you all understand and have a great weekend and a happy Memorial Day.